Welcome to the Infinite Spark of Being podcast. My name is Keith Welsh, and this is attempt number 4 at this. I keep saying things that I realize I shouldn't say, and then I have to start it over. If you're interested in those things, more so because you enjoy those little rants I give, then my Substack will interest you, and I'll discuss that later. But today we're going to start kind of a new section of episodes. The next 4 episodes will be on identity, because that will correlate to the 3 Patreon groups that we have the first, second, and third Wednesday of every month, because we're entering into the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita at that insight group, and that's kind of the beginning of starting to understand what you are, what you might be, what you're not, really. We can start there. Let's start with what you're not. Anyway, if you really enjoy this content that I provide, go to the website. You can donate money through the Participate Donate button. You can donate through Venmo, PayPal. The Patreon is a great way to get involved in discussion groups. The Journey tier, Awake tier, and Insight tier are the 3 discussion groups. First, second, and third Wednesday. If you're interested, sign up. The Insight tier obviously gives you access to all 3 groups. Or if you just want to check it out, but you don't necessarily want to sign up for something, you can just pay $20 per session. And do that through Venmo, PayPal. Get me your email address so I can add you to the invitation. If you're interested in spending one-on-one time, starting your meditation practice, deepening it with me, reach out through email. If you want me to come to a talk at your yoga school, a workshop, whatever, again, email is great. You want to deepen your spiritual understanding of your own life, start some sort of spiritual practice, same. If you're interested in thought transformation or restructuring, we can get into that. There's a whole episode on that. Check that out. Reach out, and we can do that. So let's get into it. I'm anxious to talk about this. Eager to talk about this, not anxious. So we have to start with a few things, and these are things that I've talked quite a bit about over the years. When something is objectively real, objectively true, objectivity cannot involve personal preferences, personal feelings, and personal tastes. Okay, so essentially it can't involve the mind, which is crazy, right? Because all we do is think about things and experience everything through our mind. Reality is the mind. Our perception is our reality. Perception is a cognitive faculty of the mind. And this is where everybody gets really tight, because this is where you start to ask me things like, so I'm not real? Who are we talking about? We'll get into it, trust me. So objectivity cannot involve personal preferences, personal taste, personal opinion. Subjectivity is all of that. So what we start to realize is that this is all very subjective. And that is very frightening for for a human, because when we are engaged in the mind is the thing that believes this is all very stationary, real, and carved into stone. That's where the suffering comes from. Old age, sickness, death is the ultimate in, hey, this isn't going to stay the same, right? That's loss, that's all of it. So that's why when we live really connected to our mind, right, attached to the thoughts, attached to the feelings and the emotions and all these opinions, then we get really tight around new information, changes, etc. So that's where we have objectivity and subjectivity, okay? The joke was always, Keith doesn't believe any of us exist and none of us are real. And then they'd always say that, waiting for me to go, no, that's it. But there's so much freedom in that, right? That means that you can do whatever you want with this. Observe the mind, shape the thoughts, transform your reality. That's essentially what I'm trying to teach. That's the information I'm trying to give you. These last 6 or 7 months have been a massive experience in that for me personally, and I cannot wait to elaborate on that. That might be the next book. But I really have put my money where my mouth is. So there's objective and subjective. Now, the really tricky thing, and I'm going to really kind of but bring up the Buddhist perspective on this a lot, because Buddhism is very attractive to secular people. It's very attractive to materialist people, which is fine. It's very attractive to spiritual people, but it can be very confusing and muddy. So it, I tend to want to explain that more. So in Buddhism, when a teacher would say, well, this is all an illusion, it's usually some wise ass says, well, I can't walk through a wall. This wall isn't an illusion. That's not what I'm talking about. Illusion is anything that is or is likely to be wrongly perceived by the senses. Perceived. Perception, another cognitive faculty of the mind. There's 6. Judgment, perception, consciousness, language, memory, and thinking. Perception means the way we regard, the way we understand, and the way we interpret something. Illusion is anything that is or is likely to be wrongly perceived by the senses. And I don't mean, did somebody fart? No, we're making broccoli. I don't mean those senses. I mean, that was an attack on broccoli. I'm 47. I don't have to eat it. You know who I'm talking to. So perception is the way the nervous system is responding. Those are the senses we're talking about. When in the Gita, when Krishna says the wise would withdraw their senses in like a turtle does with its limbs, he doesn't mean like your smell and sight and hearing. And I know there's pranayams where you plug the eyes, nose, and mouth. But we're talking about the misunderstanding of the nervous system. Everyone listening to this has been angry, frustrated, hurt because they misunderstood something. There we go. There's an illusion. There's a really easy way to understand the illusory nature of life that Buddhism is discussing. Okay? So now we go back to the objective, subjective. If something is objectively real or objectively true, it doesn't involve the opinions, preferences, or tastes. Okay. Subjectivity does involve that. Objectivity can't involve the mind. Well, the entire experience is the mind. Perception is the mind. Illusion is anything that is or is likely to be wrongly perceived by the senses. I hope this is making sense. If it's not, go check out the Patreon. Join and we discuss it more. So we're really starting from, I'm just starting with we're going to understand the language first. I realize in our culture today, language has gone out the window and we just make fart noises and identify as cats and things. But we're going to talk about language, because language is another cognitive faculty of the mind that tells the nervous system how to feel about its surroundings. And the reason I talked about a cat is because some weird thing popped up in my Instagram where this young lady believed that she was a bird, and she was reaching out to other people that thought they were birds and wanting to know how they move through the world as I think it was Therian. I'm always fascinated by these things. Kind of wild. So, and here we are, identity. So we have to understand language. So objective, subjective, illusion. Now we get into the very difficult part about existence, right? Something living has existence. But there must be, and if you look up the definition of existence and you're ready to attack me, then you'll find a way, but bear with me. Living, when it says living, it doesn't mean like since you... See, this is where it gets dicey. Okay, so how do I say it? For something to have existence, it has to have some objectivity. It has to be objective. Objective. Object. I just passed a traffic cone. Okay, so that is an object in space and time. We call it a cone. That cone means different things to different people. Some people would see that cone, they go to the beach, there's no parking spaces left, but there's one spot and it's got a cone in it. Some people will go, oh, well, I can't. I mean, that cone has an identity and a meaning, and I can't. Then some people, definitely not me, would get out of the car and move the cone, right? And say, well, there was a cone there, but I want to go to the beach, so I'm going to move the cone. So that cone is an object, but its meaning and what it is, what it symbolizes is different. So now we understand objective, subjective, existence. For something to exist, it has to have some objectivity. So concepts do not have existence. They are concepts. If you buy into the concept and I don't buy into the concept, then it doesn't exist for me. It exists for you. It's shaping your world. So and then we can get into laws and things, but when people usually start questioning me about that, which some of you probably are, my response is, I don't need rules to tell me not to kill people and steal other people's shit. You might need to be told not to do these crazy things. I don't need to be told those crazy things. I'm not the one you should be afraid of. Me as a, philosophically, and I kind of consider myself an anarchist. That can, well, you don't believe in laws? Well, I don't fucking need them. Like, if you need them, that's your deal. Right now, the speed limit's 35 miles an hour. I wouldn't do 80 down here. There's too many driveways and cyclists. As much of as a beef as I have there, I don't want to kill or hurt anyone. I don't need to be told not to. Sorry, I digress. Okay, existence. So now we get into, does Keith exist? No, Keith doesn't exist. Keith is a concept, okay? And my Keithness, like who I think I am, is different than who you think I am, right? People close to me that love me all see me differently, right? My family sees me, like my cousin Katie sees me one way. We lived together when we were teenagers, and we'd both call my mom and bitch at her about what the other one was doing. It was a very brother-sister kind of relationship, but we love each other very much. But she sees me differently than like my girlfriend sees me. Obviously, different friends see me differently, right? Now, what if I have an identity, a piece of me that I believe about me? Like, let's say I believe I'm a very nice person. And then somebody in traffic, maybe I cut them off or whatever. I didn't mean to. And they got this idea about who I am, right? Or whatever. Let's say somebody doesn't think that I'm that nice, but I'm really attached to my nice guyness. Well, do I need them to validate my belief in myself? What if I believe that I'm talented, but you don't believe I'm talented? Well, we have a problem if I need you to buy into my thing, and you see where this all starts to get very sensitive, right? It gets sensitive. I'm at the climbing gym, right? And I have a harness and a chalk bag and shoes. So do my friends. My friends are all really good climbers. I'm not that good. They fucking live there, So they, like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm a climber. I climb things, But they might be like, kinda, right? But what if I get very attached to them seeing me? I want you to see me. I want Troy to see me as a real climber. I'm going to have to put in some fucking time because that dude climbs really well, right? But if I'm really attached to him seeing me as a really good climber, you see where it gets weird, right? Like in a relationship, we want to be seen a certain way, and we need the other person to see us that way. That's what love is. You find the person that sees you the way you see you, or actually, in my case, sees me better than I really am. Right? And then now I have to learn to see me the way she sees me, which I think I'm doing. But so this is identity, and it gets a little confusing and a little muddy, right? So objectivity means that it can't, for something to be objective, it can't involve opinions, feelings, tastes, things like that. Can't involve the mind, really. And if you're going to start searching this stuff, be sure you read all of the things we can find on it. Don't just, go surface level on me. Subjective is feelings, preferences, and tastes, right? An illusion is anything that is or is likely to be wrongly perceived by the senses. So if my nervous system is tight and my mind is telling me that it's tight, because what's happening there is the subconscious is identifying and categorizing the external stimuli, the nervous system is responding accordingly, and then the conscious mind is elaborating on that feeling, right? And so now we have misunderstandings, we have PTSD, we have anxiety, but all these things, right, they're illusory. So I've done a lot of work with veterans, and a slamming door can kick off someone's, nervous system. And if you looked at it, hey, that was an illusion, that's a really insensitive thing to say, but really what they're experiencing is an illusion, right? It doesn't mean that they're not really in pain. It just means that the mind and the body are perceiving something incorrectly. You are safe. That was a door, right? I remember I was rear-ended once, and for months I spent the time staring in my rearview mirror at every traffic light, waiting to get rear-ended, and then the car's not even close to me, but still cussing at them in the fucking mirror. That's an illusion. I wasn't going to get hurt. This is fine. I'm safe, right? And if I flood the safety and beauty of the present moment with the pain of the past, that's rough. Now, for something to have existence, it has to have some objectivity. So if I stand on the side of the road, there's a lot of opinions about this organism that stands there. Some of them might be right, some of them might be wrong. Some people might just use words we've all agreed to use for this type of an organism. But which of those exists, right? The way I see Keith, so when we get into identity, really what we're talking about is who we believe we are, right? So Keith as a concept doesn't have existence. This organism does, as an object in space, taking up space and time, it has an existence. Now we get into self-concept, which is who the mind believes we are based on the responses we got from other people. That's where we get into this. If everyone, let's say we surround ourselves with bad people, based on our own attractions and aversions, our own karma, we end up surrounded by shitty people, and they treat us like shit. Then that's the self-concept. We believe that we are this person only worthy of this sort of da-da-da-da-da, right? We get into that saying, the mind will always choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven, right? So does that person that these shitty people see exist? But what if you love me and you don't see me that way? Which of these things exist? Does if I think I'm shitty because these people tell me I'm shitty, you think I'm lovely and wonderful, which of those is true? Right? You start to see where this goes. You start to see where it goes. So that's just the basic beginning. This is the thought exercise. Just engage in this kind of thought exercise, way of considering things. I'm not telling you what to think or feel right now. I'm just saying, hey, just play with it, right? This is step one of self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is the basis of all spiritual work. The basis for all spiritual work is not ibogaine, ayahuasca, and psilocybin. the basis is self-inquiry. It's not being able to do a headstand. The beginning of spiritual work is self-inquiry. I have a soul. Okay, well, who is I? Does I have a soul? Does the impermanent, non-existent, conceptual self, is that who has the soul? Or does the soul experience the conceptuals? This gets into the I'm a spiritual being having a human experience as opposed to I'm a human being having a spiritual experience, right? And then the problem with identity as a concept is that if you're attached to it, then you need others to be on board too. Because Ram Dass used to say, once you become nobody, you're free, like I am nobody, not a body. I am nobody, right? That gets into some stuff we'll get into later. But I just want you to think about that. Consider those things. Roll them around. Always reach out to me. If you have a problem with this and you want clarification, just be nice. Ask a sensible question. I can be confrontational too, so you don't need to be that way. Just be nice. We can talk. I'm always willing to. And push on me. Don't let me sit on here and say crazy shit. Push me on it. I welcome it because it gives me a chance to explain. If I didn't do a good job explaining, then you need to hold me accountable. All right, go to the website, participate, donate, buy t-shirts, buy hoodies. It helps me out. Third book still being edited. Almost there. Go check out the Substack. I got more essays coming. Maybe a lot of it is like I said, some of the stuff that I don't really get into in the podcast because I'd like the podcast to be informative and educational, whereas the Substack would be largely editorial. Okay, I love you. I love you. I love you. I will talk to you next week. If you want to join the discussion, join the Patreon, or just pay the $20. All right, I love you. Bye.